Missing in Action, a series where we look into the missing elements that would strengthen the Second World War theme of Battlefield 5. A majority of Battlefield 5's maps take place in 1940 in the middle of several lesser known campaigns in Europe and Africa. However, the concept of fighting in this era is broken down, as the vehicle pool for the game is a mix of vehicles from the entire war being picked and used not for the setting, but for how much mileage the developers could get over certain assets that existed in the game's files to save time during development. Let's indulge in some wishful thinking for a moment. Let's put on the amateur game developer gloves. With 1 more year of development time, each faction should have had at least 2 vehicles to use, the upgrades being focused on speed and spotting or accuracy and taking damage. 1 armoured car and light tank for each faction would be part of this design. In this case, the British light tank that would fit the focus of the early war maps of the game and the theme of history rarely told would be the Vickers Mark VI infantry tank. I'll be using this proposed design as the framework for my suggestions. The Vickers Mark VI was a 3-man light tank dedicated to mainly infantry support and long-distance reconnaissance duties. Produced by Vickers Armstrong in the mid-1930s, this early war tank saw service in the British Army performing overseas colonial policing duties. Lightly armed and armoured, the tank itself in real life was of limited use in fighting and combating the more modern armour of the enemy in the war, but it was still used in saw service in the Battle of France as a stopgap armour support of the BEF working alongside the Matilda tank in combat duties. The Vickers 6 also saw service fighting in North Africa and even in Greece in limited numbers. All these locations are maps in the game. Game-wise, I feel the Vickers Mark VI would essentially be more or less slightly quicker than the Panzer 38, the size and speed giving it more advantage in combat. The only issues I can see with the implementation would be in the weaponry, as by default it would be armed sadly with just a tank and heavy machine gun. The game nature of Battlefield 5 however comes into play, as the upgrade system using weaponry and features from the previous tanks of the series as well as focusing on the successor tank, mainly with the 2-pounder gun, could explain away such issues. Now, I know realistically here the most practical thing DICE could do with this allied light tank scenario is simply add the Stuart tank to the British when the US Army arrives for the inevitable D-Day and Normandy focused expansion DLC, but a man likes to dream. And while the addition of a Stuart would still be much appreciated in general, I feel the concept of using a Vickers Mark VI would suit the theme of the British faction much more. It would also underline their early design focus on lesser known World War history. Aside from mods and a few indie strategy games, the Mark VI rarely appears,